Elvira, great to have you with us. You've got a lot of experience in organizational design, both as an internal leader and as an external consultant coming in. Tell us very quickly, how do, well, I say very quickly, I'm going to shut up. You can take as much time as you want. How do you get OKRs to transform teams and companies? This is the crucial bit. How do we make it work?
Okay, I mean, I think the most important thing not to forget is that, just like we heard in the previous examples, that in not every cases do you have this whole OKR system happening top down. And I just want to make sure that the people who are listening in and now giving up that, oh, our company is far, far away from the point that we would have the whole OKR system top down coming down. The good news is that you can still do it and you can still use it, and it's still a great tool. What you have to remember is that setting objectives and key results is basically an organization design on a team level, and not necessarily on a functional team level, but just like we heard, teams around the product, teams around the process, teams around the transformation program even. And the most important thing is that it helps us create conversations around very important things. We discuss and make agreements about what is the work that we have to do now, not in general, but right now in a given period of time, and agreements around how we are going to make that happen. So to run these workshops, I think the really important part is not to get lost in the system, but to connect it always. If you have top-down goal system, fantastic. If not, at least define the purpose of your team, the team you are working in, and have very clear agreements about the definition of done. Yeah. So what is it that you have to achieve together as a team? And then you can slice it into shorter periods of time. What I often see is that people wait for the objectives to arrive to them with the teams. And a little tip for that is, you don't have to wait for it, but you have to go around and negotiate with your customers and stakeholders to define the objectives. And maybe about the key results, also a little bit of a practical thing. It's not something what someone, for example, as a leader or a product owner should set. It's a negotiation between the team members. What is it that will be enough to achieve in order to achieve our goals? So basically, it's the time, what we also heard, like from Tatiana, that you have to invest time into this, and this time will definitely make its return. And another point maybe that's super important, that when we are using objectives and key results, they are just a tool that helps us to have these conversations, and not just about productivity or performance, like we heard, but also, like the previous speaker said, about shining light to individual growth and evolution. Yeah, so I could talk a lot more about that, how to do that, but maybe then I won't shoot down every idea, and I would say that we have built into this flow that we are about to launch today, how to create these conversations, whom to involve into which conversation, how to negotiate and prepare the objectives upfront, and how to negotiate with the team to make the agreements. Because however good the goals, the objectives, and key results are, if not every member of your team understands them, feels completely committed to them, and feels that you have enough time and energy to kind of make them happen, then it's not going to work.
I have never thought before about OKRs, or indeed any objectives, being a negotiation. I've always thought of them as being cascaded down, but of course what you say makes perfect sense, and it's why I've probably been such a bad manager in my life, and I should have listened to you. I love the idea of having a negotiation, but at some point the negotiation has to stop, or at least has to pretty much stop, and you have to agree on a point. At some point, in your experience, is it okay for somebody to say, well, we disagree on this, but actually, I'm going to tell you, this is how it's going to be. This is what we're going to do. What do you do in that stage?
Yes, and as I said, there are different people whom you involve into the different negotiations. So the objective setting is always either with your client customer, it could be internal or external, or with your stakeholders. And just to say an example, your stakeholders might want you to achieve something huge within 3 months, and you know the capacity of your team, for example. So if you are there negotiating this, it's your responsibility, not just cascade down and say yes, but immediately raise concerns about this, that, hey, it's a wonderful wish, but we're not having enough people, not having enough resources to complete this. And the same on the team level with the key results. So to achieve each objective, what are the kind of key results we have to achieve that will be good enough and ensuring us that we can achieve the objective where they belong to. And I see quite often that they're also either product owners or just leaders wishing for 100% of something. And people in your team will negotiate that, hey, you know, it's never possible, for example, to have all of your leaders complete your leadership training. Yeah, it's a nice wish, but it never really happens. So is 80% good enough? And if we agree that that's enough, then we can make it happen. And the super cool thing about this, the negotiation also, is who is doing what. Because the objective and key result system can help us moving away from our job descriptions and task thinking, and helping us moving more towards the achievable and deliverables, and who's going to do what at any given time to achieve these objectives and key results, allow actually teams to self-organize, which means people can sign up to things either because they are the best at it, so they can contribute the most, or because they can learn the most there. And this is how you can facilitate individual growth also on the team level. So you create space for it within the team, and team members can support each other on that.
You're describing a very different sort of team to the way most teams are organized, in my experience, which is it's self-organizing. People are volunteering to come forward to do things. They are focused on achieving the goal, and my experience is that makes them much more productive, actually, when you work in that way.
That's where the secret lies. So it's not in the OKRs, but actually how you use them to let people self-organize and have more authority in kind of designing, defining, agreeing together as a team who is doing what at any given time.
Very quickly, I'm going to ask Pris to come to get ready for her piece in a second. I just want to ask the question which we had earlier, because I thought it was a very interesting one from Zishan, saying, are OKRs focused more on company goals or on employees? I think it's a really interesting question to ask at this point. What's your take on that? And then let's have Pris come forward with her demo and talking about how we can actually make this real. And then we're going to go over to Esther, I think. I'm just trying to, at the same time, look at the clock, organize things, but I want to get this question answered, which I think is really important. Is it about company? Is it about the individual? I'm going to guess what your answer is, but go ahead.
And I already wrote it in the chat because it's neither. So it's a team level alignment tool. You can use it on a company level, like we heard from the previous cases, from the previous speakers. But in some cases, depending how much control the company likes to take over what's happening in it, sometimes it's enough just to build the hierarchy of purposes. You don't need to build the hierarchy of objectives and key results. It's possible, but what it means is you don't need it on a team level to function well with it. So any team anywhere can start using the objective and key result system. And it's definitely not an individual thing. When I teach it, I tell my students to, okay, just for the sake of experimenting, you can set a time box for yourself, how far you look forward, and nothing will change extremely. What is it that you want to achieve by the end of it? And what would be the good signs that you are on a way to achieve that? But that's just for the practice thing. The objective and key result system is really for the team to make the agreements about what is the work we're going to do now and how we are going to do that. And in times of super adaptivity that is needed from companies, this is really the tool what you can kind of rely on, because instead of continuously restructuring organizations and redesigning organizations, you can use this this system instead of the formal structure of the organization in the value creating reality, which allows adaptivity. So that means you can set goals on a different level and set the objectives and key results in the different realities also.
Elvira, I'm loving what you're saying, and I'm loving the picture of work you're describing. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to go over to Pris now. Hopefully, we're in a position whereby we can have her sharing the Superflow tool.
Yes, super. Thank you, Don. We are actually super excited to offer you our end of year gift from all of us at Superflow and from our creator Elvira, the high performing teams flow. This is actually a premium content that is only available for the best fit teams. And only till the end of January, if you fill in a very short survey with your name and your motivations, we will send you the link to the high performing teams flow on a rolling basis. If you create a personal workspace or a company workspace in Superflow, you will actually find additional flows as well that will help you with your business development goals, personal growth journeys, or setting up the OKR system in the high-performing teams flow. Superflow is basically unique because of how it combines the learning and application piece of very complex methods and frameworks to help you get to results as quickly as and efficiently as possible. So this is how we save 10x time, because you don't have to go through all the courses to learn the methodologies. They are actually baked into the process, learning by doing. This is how you can get very confident in facilitating an OKR workshop, from aligning your team on the long-term vision and on the company purpose, to define the team purpose, to plan your sprint, define the OKRs, and finally learn step by step from what you have achieved together and what are your agreements to make. Superflow has interactive canvases where you can set your personal goals and also go through step by step the journey, activity by activity, on how to fill in each of the canvases and what are the pro tips of our experts. So in the high performing teams flow, Elvira walks you through each of the canvas sections where you need to put your notes on the company purpose and see how it will align your team on the team function, team impact, goals and values to finally arrive to the team purpose. At every step, you can listen to bite-sized videos from the expert. I know you will not hear it, but hopefully you can at least see that her mouse is moving and I can move her around on the canvas. If I want, I can also hide the progress bar or hide the entire video to, or even make it full screen and just listen to Elvira speaking and the best advices she has for this particular session to make the most out of it. At the end of every session, we can arrive to the outcomes, and completing the session, starting the next one, we can see what were the previous outcomes so that we can build on them. And this is how Superflow helps you to really identify the most important data that you need every step of the way. For defining objectives and key results, you can also go step by step to what it takes to finally find the right time frame for the sprint, set the sprint duration, define the objectives, find the right key results, and get tips on how to do it well and how to make sure that your team is aligned on what to take. Obviously, at every step of the way, you can edit the canvas and create new notes. Finally, this is what will help you to get to the roadmap planning session where everyone can sign up as a self-organizing team, how Elvira just said, to get the right results into practice. And when you are done with the sprint, seeing what your team has achieved together, you can give each other feedback that leads you to what are the most important learnings that you can align your team on? What are your agreements to make that will help you to be even more effective and efficient next time? So as you could see, Superflow is much more than a bunch of templates. It reduces the time for learning and makes it the most efficient way with learning experience design, learning by doing, and retrieving just the best practices that you need at that particular moment. And it also removes the administrative burden. So hope you will give it a try and enjoy the high-performing teams flow.
Bruce, thanks so much for that. Look, I'm not getting paid for doing this, and I have no financial interest in Superflow, but I just want to say I love what I'm seeing here. It reflects absolutely what the speakers are saying, which is this need to have a conversation which is not a one-off conversation, but a series of conversations, and it's a learning experience. So this tool for me, and it's not something I've seen anywhere else, and for me, it answers a lot of questions about management and helping people be good managers. It's simple, it is effective. It's more than just a bunch of templates, like Pris said. It removes a lot of the administrative burden from managers of, and indeed from teams of having to make this happen. And you build in the learning so that you're not just given something and you have to make it up. The learning is there to support you on the way. And best of all, it is built up so that it's not a one-off occurrence, but a series of objectives, a series of templates filled in that enable you to track how far have you got, how well do you succeed, and let's do a retrospective. Did we do well to it? What can we do better next time? At each step. For me, that's how you make organizations run well. And as we heard from the first panel, you can do an awful lot with that in some great organizations.
Thank you very much, Don. And if I can have 30 more seconds, I can also show where we are going with this.
Hey, yes, come on, let's have it.
Really exciting.
So besides what we already have, our goal with Superflow is to build the creator platform for modern workflows, where even really complex sessions can be built from scratch, where you can track progress and have assignees, and for each of the objectives and key results. This way you can really understand data. And when you understand the data behind your notes and your every single piece on the canvas, even emojis, then with these ongoing insights, you can understand the whys of your team performance, how emotional reactions can drive your effectiveness. And with the work patterns, you can learn and identify areas for growth. So we are super happy if you can give it a try and partner with us on the long term.
I literally have little hairs on the back of my neck standing up because I find that so exciting. I think we should give the last word to Elvira, who clearly has an awful lot of expertise in this, and it would be a mistake not to give her the final word on this. We've seen a lot of things coming through this: clarity, conversation, the idea that it's a tool that assists rather than something in its own right. Is there anything that you'd like to wrap up with, Elvira, just to help people walk away with a sense of what could people be doing in using OKRs to boost the productivity, but also, as we heard earlier, to be more effective, not just more efficient?
I think the most important thing from this is the built-in continuous learning on a team level, on an individual level. And the shorter sprints you are, the more regularly you have the opportunity to fine-tune on what you are working on and how you are working together as a team. And this sort of evolution as a team is the necessity, because that's what actually going to make your team a high-performing one, and the evolution of the individuals in that. And what you have seen also is that there is space for this, and we believe in learning is not linear, but spiral. So the whole idea is that the format that's available right now of this flow is more for people who would facilitate workshops like this, but soon we're going to come out with a collaborative version as well. But just as a facilitator, also, I would say that don't think that this is something you would only listen to once and then you would do it. It's more like listen to the instructions. We really packed in kind of every word is chosen, every sentence is chosen, the minimum but most important guidelines. But you will see that then start doing it and start practicing it. And as you facilitate these sessions, you will come up with new questions. And then go back to it, because the answers are in the videos, in the instructions, but nobody's expected to pick it up, right, everything from the beginning. So listen to it, try it, experiment with it, go back, you will learn new things again. And it's the same how teams learn and work. We do something and then we stop and we have questions and we answer them. So it helps you the continuous learning process, and that's what evolution is.
Thank you for building that very important learning piece back into the conversation, Elvira. Thanks to everybody in the room for all of your thoughts and contributions. Thanks to all of our speakers today for everything they've brought to the session. I hope to see you in another Superflow webinar next year.